It's 2 a.m., and your body is exhausted. Your eyes are closed. Everything about you says sleep, except the committee. The committee is in session again, replaying the thing you said at lunch. Was it weird? It was weird. Drafting the email you'll send tomorrow, revising it again, running the simulation where you'd answered differently in that conversation from 2019, auditing your life choices, pre-living a disaster that has a 4% chance of happening. And then, this is the special torture. Thinking about the fact that you're thinking, watching the clock do its arithmetic. If I fall asleep right now, I still get 5 hours. You've tried everything. Just stop thinking about it, as if that's a switch someone forgot to show you. Meditation apps, where you spent 10 minutes thinking about your breath instead of anything restful. Someone told you to empty your mind, and you discovered your mind treats empty as a suggestion box. Here's the thing nobody says. Overthinking isn't a knowledge problem. You already know the replay changes nothing. You know the rehearsed conversation won't go the way you rehearsed it. You know worry isn't preparation. You know all of it, and the committee stays in session anyway. Whatever is looping in you doesn't answer to the part of you that knows things. Sound familiar? It's the same discovery we made 2 chapters ago about repeated mistakes. The loop doesn't live where the knowledge lives. Psychology separates some of this into rumination about the past and worry about the future. And its research is genuinely useful. We'll borrow one of its findings later. But tonight I want to show you a different door. Because about 3,000 years ago, in a book that has an archetype for every situation a human being can land in, the ancients wrote one hexagram devoted entirely to stillness. 1 out of 64. And that chapter says something no meditation app has ever told you, including a very strange instruction about where in your body to place your attention when the mind will not settle. Welcome back to the Valley. The book is the I Ching, the Book of Changes. 64 hexagrams, 64 shapes a human life keeps taking. We've opened the chapter on dangerous attraction, the chapter on repeated mistakes, the chapter on the emptiness at the summit. Today, number 52. It's called Gun, keeping still. Its image is the mountain, and in the architecture of the lines, this hexagram is the mountain doubled, a mountain standing upon a mountain, stillness resting on stillness. Now notice something before we read a word. This is a book called the Book of Changes. 64 chapters about movement, things rising, falling, crossing, returning, breaking apart, coming together. And in the middle of all that motion, the ancients placed exactly one mountain range, one chapter, where nothing moves at all. They didn't treat stillness as the absence of change. They treated it as one of the 64 fundamental situations, something with its own structure, its own dangers, its own skill. Stillness in this book is not what's left when you subtract thinking. Stillness is a place, and like any place, there are wrong ways and right ways to enter it, which the chapter proceeds to map, starting with that strange claim I promised you. The judgment of hexagram 52 opens with one of the oddest images in the entire book. Paraphrased, keeping his back still so that he no longer feels his body. He walks into his courtyard and does not see his people. No blame. The back. Of every part of you, the ancients locate in stillness in the back. Why? Sit with the image because it's precise. Your eyes face forward, toward plans, futures, other people's faces. Your hands reach forward, toward tasks, phones, problems. Your whole front side is the grasping, planning, performing side of you. Every organ of wanting points that way. The back is the one part of yourself you have never seen directly. It wants nothing. It grasps nothing. It just holds you up, silently, and has since before you could speak. The ancients were saying, there is already a place in you that is not restless. You've just never once turned your attention to it, because attention only knows how to face forward. And there is a detail in that image that will raise the hair on your neck. The back is where the spine is, the column carrying signals between brain and body. Long before modern neuroscience, the text chose the back as its image of stillness. Modern body-based practices also redirect attention away from verbal thought and toward posture, physical sensation, and the felt sense of being supported. The languages are different, but the intuition rhymes. Stillness may begin below the level of argument. Then the second image. He walks into his courtyard and does not see his people. He's not hiding on the mountain. He's home in his own courtyard, surrounded by his household, and he doesn't see them. Not coldness, non-entanglement, Because be honest about what your 2 a.m. committee actually is. It's people. The colleague you're rehearsing for, the person from 2019, the imagined critic reading tomorrow's email. Overthinking is a crowded courtyard, and every thought person in it grabs your sleeve. The chapter's image of mastery is walking through that same courtyard, thoughts present, people present, without stopping to hold a meeting with each one. Together, the two images define what this book means by stillness, and it's not what the app sold you. Not an empty mind, not no thoughts, attention resting in the still place that was always there, while the courtyard stays as populated as ever. Then the chapter does what this book always does. It grades the attempts. 6 lines, climbing the body from the ground up, and hidden in the climb is a warning that explains why everything you've tried has failed. The bottom line, keeping the toes still, stopping before you've started walking, catching the spiral at the first flicker, before the replay has picked a memory. The text calls this favorable. It's our old friend from the chapter on repeated mistakes, the short distance return. Meters, not miles. Higher, keeping the calves still, trying to stop while the legs are already moving, mid-spiral. The text is honest. It doesn't fully work, and it feels bad. You know this one. Everyone knows this one. And then, the line the whole chapter pivots on, forced stillness at the hips. The image is of someone clamping themselves rigid, and the text's verdict is brutal. The sacrum stiffens, and the heart suffocates. Hold that against your own history. Every time you commanded yourself, stop thinking, go to sleep, why are you like this? What happened? The committee got louder. The ancients knew, stillness imposed by force is just violence wearing meditation's clothes, and the mind fights violence. Research on thought suppression calls this an ironic process. Trying to force a thought away can make it more accessible, because part of the mind keeps checking whether it has returned. Whatever you flee, grows teeth. The chapter's whole point is that stillness is entered, never enforced. Above the pivot, the entering. Stillness of the trunk, the torso settling, the back remembered. Then a line that deserves its own episode. Stillness of the jaws, so that words have order. The ancients noticed the jaw, noticed that the overthinking mind is a narrating mind, talking silently, constantly, to an absent audience. Quiet the narration, and half the committee loses its microphone. And at the top, noble-hearted stillness. Stillness become character, the mountain that no longer needs to try. But the deepest thing in this chapter isn't in the lines. It's in one sentence of the commentary, and it quietly dismantles the entire war you've been fighting with your own mind. Paraphrased, when it is time to stop, stop. When it is time to move, move. When movement and rest each come at their proper moment, there is light. Read that again. The chapter on stillness, the one mountain in a book of changes, does not say stillness is better than motion. It says stillness is a timing. The mountain isn't holy because it never moves. The mountain is simply doing what mountain time calls for, and the river beside it is equally right to run. Which means your thinking was never the enemy. Thinking is magnificent in thinking time. At your desk, solving the real problem, drafting the actual email, think fiercely. The suffering isn't in the thought, it's in the timing. It's daytime mind running at 2 a.m., the river trying to flow through mountain hours. Overthinking is just thinking that has lost its clock. And this reframe changes the practice completely. That's the hip clamp, the suffocating heart. Instead, you do something almost embarrassingly humble. At the committee's first flicker, toes, not calves, you move attention to the one part of you that has no opinions. The back, the spine holding you to the mattress, not as a trick to fall asleep, as a change of address. The courtyard stays full. You just stop taking meetings. Some nights it works in minutes. Some nights the committee follows you down the hall. The line about the calves already told you that would happen, and told you it's not failure. It's the middle of the climb. The mountain doesn't argue with the weather. It lets the weather be weather and stays a mountain. One chapter of stillness in a book of 64 changes. Restlessness located in the seeing, grasping, forward-facing front of you, and its cure in the one place you've never looked. A courtyard full of people you don't have to see, and a mountain whose secret is not silence, but timing. Next time, we open the chapter about the other thing that keeps people awake. Not the racing mind, but the clenched fist. Why you can't let go of things that are already over, and the thunderstorm the ancients prescribed for exactly that. It comes with the single most surprising instruction in the whole book about forgiveness. But before you go, tell me, What does your committee chew on at 2 a.m.? The past on replay, the future on rehearsal, or the audience? Other people's opinions of you? Put it in the comments and read the others. 100 strangers describing your exact 2 a.m. is strangely quieting, almost like walking through a full courtyard and not stopping. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll know when the next Another Valley story is available.